So you want to get loud. Now you're looking at some nice upgrades, some cool alternators, some batteries, some big old amps. But then bam! Netflix hits, Spotify hits, cell phone bill, internet, rent is due, your gas light is on E, and it's Taco Tuesday. So what are you gonna do? Well, I'm gonna show you exactly how we're gonna build a decently loud system on the budget. Let's get into it. Alright, let's face it, loud for everybody is of course going to be different, and everybody's going to have a different budget as well. But the point of the video is to see how loud we can get without having to upgrade any electrical. That means we're going to be running an amp that does not require an extra alt, does not require batteries, does not require big zero gauge wire. All that stuff can add up to over $1,000 really quickly, so let's see what we can do. Now to get this done on the low, there's a few things we need to really take into account. 1 is your impedance, 2 is cone area, 3 is your box. So let's get into that. Now, if you want to run real big power, like one of these 8Ks, like this 12K, and honestly, really anything above 1,500 to 2,000 watts, you got to do a bunch of electrical upgrades. We're going to want to find an amp that won't require us to do any of that. Now I want to give BREARTHQUAKE a huge shout out for sending me this little amp for this video. Really helps out the channel. Really appreciate it. Now, BREARTHQUAKE is an online dealer for a bunch of Brazilian companies like Taramps. So if you want to check them out, there will be a link in the description below, along with a discount code. So go check that out. Now, they were kind enough to send me this little amp right here. This is one of their base series 1200 watt amp at 1 ohm. So let's take a look at this thing. Of course, you get your Taramps sticker. And then here's the amp. Let's get this thing opened. Now, I love Taramps. I've ran a bunch of their amps. They are by no means perfect, but they do have a lot of pros to them for what I do. So it's cool to see this little guy. It's just the little baby version of these 8Ks that I've been running. This thing is really sweet. Okay, now I mentioned impedance. So what is that? I know a lot of people know this stuff already, but hey, I have a lot of beginners on here that are trying to learn some of this stuff. And hey, I'm learning too along with you guys. So let's talk about impedance. So this is a 1 ohm stable amp. Ohms is your impedance. The lower your ohms, the less resistance there is in the voice coil of your sub. So basically, the louder it can get. If you have your subs wired to 2 ohms, it will take more power to get the same volume than if you have them wired down to 1 ohm. So with our subs, our plan is to wire them down to 1 ohm. You can wire stuff down to half ohm, even a quarter ohm. But most amps, especially budget amps, are not going to like to be ran that low. So we're going to keep it safe. We're going to stick to 1 ohm. That means you're going to want to get an amp that is 1 ohm stable, like this guy right here. Up until really only a few years ago, most amps were only 2 or 4 ohms stable. But we're seeing a lot more 1 ohm stable amps now, like the Taramps. So hey, that's one thing you can do. That can be a big help. The next thing that we got to think about is cone area. Basically what this means, we want to have as much cone area as possible, as much cone area as we can fit into our space. Again, of course, without breaking the budget. Now, in my opinion, let's say you have $400 to spend on subs. You can either buy one $400, 12-inch sub, or you can buy two $200 12-inch subs. 99% of the time, guys, you're gonna be able to get louder with the 2 subs. So that is what we are gonna do here. Also, if you have the room, 15-inch subs are definitely gonna have a noticeable difference above 12-inch subs. So for this video, I picked up 2 of these awesome American-based Elite subs. At the moment, these things are an absolute steal, so let's check these things out. Now, here's a $500 12-inch sub. A beastly sub. But for way under that, we were able to pick up both of these 15s. And guys, I guarantee you on the system, we're going to be able to get this way louder than we could get this. At the time of me filming this, these things were only $165 a piece. Now, I imagine they will go up. That seems to happen every time I make an American-based video. But hey, if you're lucky enough to grab some of these, even if they were under, $200, these things are a steal. Now, honestly, these subs probably overkill for this little amp. Probably could have got even cheaper 15s that would have done just fine. I don't think this amp will be able to push these to their potential whatsoever. But there were several reasons I really like these. First of all, as I stated, we can wire these down to 1 ohm. So each of these is a dual 4 ohm sub. So that means if we wire positive to positive and negative to negative on each of the voice coils, we can wire each sub down to 2 ohms, and then we do that again between the 2 subs. That'll give us a final impedance of 1 ohm, which matches our amp. So that is a great place to start. Now, the main reason I grabbed these is because for the price, these things are super tough, guys. I want something that I can throw in my car, I can use for a long time, and I never have to worry about them. Now, also, I would like to note, I did pay full price for these things. Nobody sent me these subs. American Bass has never, ever helped me out whatsoever with my videos. I just had a ton of good luck with them. One of my very early videos was actually doing the 12-inch version of this Elite. Overall, every American Bass sub that I have had has just done great for the price. Now, the third thing that I mentioned is, of course, the box. Now, I've got this custom box down here that, as you can see, is behind and under a ton of stuff. So we got to pull all that out. But hey, if you can build yourself a custom box for kind of the tuning that you want, there's several good calculators online you can use. And there are tons of great videos on YouTube going over box design, port design, all that fun stuff. I'm not going to go into that here because honestly, I am not a really professional when it comes to box design, but we are going to give the system the benefit of the doubt. We're going to give it a somewhat decent box. Now, I would like to point out also, this is a more musical box. This is not an SBL box. The point of this system is to make a really awesome everyday banger, not to make some SBL build to try to squeeze every dB out of these things that we can. I'm just trying to build a daily system here that gets loud without taking a ton of power and without destroying your wallet. Okay, just to reiterate what we did here, we have positive, going to positive, negative, going to negative. That runs up to here. And then we just did the same thing back to here, then to this wire, which runs into the amp. This little guy is hooked up, and the subs are in. Now, as most of you know, yes, I do have extra batteries in this car, but the point is that this amp, in most cases, would not need extra batteries to reach its full potential. So that's what we are testing out here. Okay, I'm gonna have to let these fellas break in a little bit. They are still pretty stiff. Obviously, once they loosen up a little bit, we'll be able to really get some more volume out of these things. try to let these things break in the best I can. Still decently stiff though, I'm telling you. Once these things really break in, the volume is definitely going to increase. All right, I've got the dB meter hooked up. We're going to see how loud we can get this thing at 35, 40, and 45 hertz. Let's see what we get. 35 hertz. 134.1. 135.4. All right, 135 at 35 hertz. 40 hertz. Okay, got a 137.1. 137.3. 137.6. 45 hertz. 136.3. 136. And a 136.3. 137.6 on a teeny amp compared to what I normally do. But guys, I know you're saying, well, I've seen you get up into the 140s on a single 12. Yes, but that's when I have it on my 8K, and we will push a ton of power to these things. As we're doing it right now with box drives and everything, I doubt we're even seeing 1,000 watts. So also, as I mentioned earlier, this is not an SPL box. This is a musical box. So it's meant to sound good playing a wide range of music, and it is actually geared a little bit lower, so really can do well with some of those lows. Again, if we were gonna squeeze numbers out of these things, we would build a box specifically for that. But hey, that's not the goal here. I know video won't do it justice, but this system sounds absolutely awesome. If I had a car and I didn't want to spend all the money on an alternator and batteries and, you know, the big zero gauge wire, which as I mentioned could add up to $1,000 really quickly. Instead, this amp under $200 on BREARTHQUAKE.com. These subs, like I said, $165 a piece. You can get a 4-gauge wire kit for like $50. And then of course, a box. Now, if you order a nice box, that could get expensive, but I'm telling y'all, if y'all go do some research, do some studying, figure out how to build yourself a decent box out of some nice sanded plywood or some MDF, for another $100 to $200, you can have a box. All that right there, still cheaper than what you would need to do those big electrical upgrades. Hope you enjoyed this budget-based video. Let me know if you want to see more stuff like this, and let me know if you want me to hook up these subs to my base 8K back there and see what the difference is. Thank you all so much. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Remember, as always, guys, keep basing on.